Thanks, Steve. Well, I think I want to start off and thank you, AJ, for putting this on. This is a great time for all of us. It's always really cool for entrepreneurs to get together and people who are budding entrepreneurs going into business. That's awesome. I mean, that deserves a round of applause as well. So today, what I'm going to be talking about is definitely some experiences in my life, but really about how your experiences shape your life. They really define everything about you. Who here has had a good experience? By show of hands. Okay, anybody that doesn't have their hand up, they've had a good experience. On the flip side, who's had a bad experience? There's a really powerful thing about bad experiences. They really help us understand how good the good things are. How good would a good experience be without a truly bad experience, to kind of balance that and to help understand that? What I'm going to talk about is a couple pretty bad experiences in my life that have really helped shape my life and guide me in a direction. And that's all going to kind of tie into something that I really want to share that I hope you gain from this. And Courtney hit on it lightly. I thought she was going to steal my thing, but she wrapped it up with something else. So I've always been an avid dirt bike racer. I was actually racing this year. Half the people in ET know that I was walking and limping around because I've torn some stuff in my knees this year. And this has started at a really young age. And the first pretty traumatic thing that ever happened in my life, and I will contribute most of my success and willingness to push and do all kinds of stuff to racing motorcycles. Motocross was my life. I was willing to train for it. I was willing to give up all the partying everybody did in high school. I didn't care about anything besides working, making enough money. I was told when I was 16 I had to get a job because if I was going to race, I had to put everything I could earn towards it. And I did exactly that. I gave up all the after-school sports, all the things, because racing was my thing. And so before I was even 16, the experience I'm going to talk about, it actually happened when I was 14. I was at a race where I was at my very last kind of beginner race, and I was moving into intermediate class. My whole thing was I wanted to turn pro. I've been pushing for that for all my life. And this race was a special kind of race. It was a fair race. I don't really like these much. I like motocross tracks. I don't like little tiny fair stadium races. So this race goes on. We take off. It's the beginning of this. I'm excited for it to be the ending of my beginner career. And it was the end of my racing for a while, is what it turned into be. I went through the first turn, and there was some wrecks at the beginning of this, and trying to catch up, I jumped to jump and landed on somebody. After that, don't really remember much except for waking up. People telling me that I'd been saying, hey, get me up, get my bike started. I don't remember any of this. I'd been out for a long time. The only thing I do know is my wrist was about the size of my bicep, and I just had a lot of pain. So this started the first ambulance trip to the first hospital, where they were giving me all kinds of x-rays, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. They were rolling me all around. I was on a hard board from the ambulance, which I spent 3 days on after that. Horrible experience. They don't really find out anything there. So I head to the second hospital. That's where they discovered that I had broke my wrist. I had not only broke my wrist, I had punctured a lung. I knew I'd chipped out teeth. My wrist was also dislocated. And I crushed 3 vertebrae in my back and broke a piece off of one. And luckily the first hospital didn't paralyze me, because they were doing everything but stand me up and shake me around, having me do x-rays. So we kind of had a plan of attack. I was going to I had one more ambulance trip I needed to take, but they told me we have to operate on your hand before you go or you're gonna lose your hand. And so the news just kept getting better and better about this. So this all happened when I was 14. It was a really defining moment in my life. It really changed how I look at things. I obviously wasn't happy about this happening, but it gave me such a perspective. It showed me what could happen at such a young age. When everybody else was just being a kid, I realized, wow, I almost died. So I ended up spending 9 days in a hospital recovering from this after surgery on my hand and a lot of work on my back, and thinking the whole time, what's gonna happen? Am I gonna be okay? Am I gonna be able to walk? I know I can feel everything, but I remember when I finally get to that last hospital, I know this is usually bad news. They don't do this for coughs and colds. A priest came in to pray for me. It's like, this must actually be more serious than I understand, because I don't think that they just do this for everything. This was quite the experience, and it definitely changed my perspective. And what Courtney said was, it doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And this was the very first time I learned that things happen for you. They change your perspective. They allow you to understand so much more. At 14, I learned that there's a good chance I don't have much time. Something like this could happen, it could all be over. So I need to take so much advantage of this time. So that was the first incident in my life that really defined a lot of things about my life. Unfortunately, and I'm hoping the cycle doesn't continue, but what I've learned, it's a 14-year intervals. Because when I turned 28, I had my next exciting experience. And it was much worse than the first one. This was in a time where we'd started the business, we were growing. My first boy, he was awesome. I was excited. We had just got married, and we had our second boy on the way. I remember, I've been a I've shot YouTube videos forever. I've got over 900 videos on growing a lawn and landscape business. I just want to help other people grow their business. I've also been a welder and fabricator. I'm just good at building stuff. And I just built a special mowing truck, and I put it on YouTube, the video of all this happening. And on the tail end of me building this thing and doing this, I start kind of feeling like I've got the flu. And I start going downhill. I'm always, Jonathan, we're the exact same. I'm gonna have to be dying before they take me anywhere. I can't stand up, or I'm bleeding, or bones are sticking out. We've talked, I've got the breaks and the things. But so this goes on, I tough this out. 3 days in, I look like I'm 6 months pregnant. And I finally look at my wife and I say, this is serious. We gotta go to the hospital. This has got out of control, I don't know what's going on. And so she rushes me to the emergency room. As I said, I've got my first boy and my second on the way. She's showing. It's a very exciting time. And we get in the hospital, they're checking us in. And they're asking me all kinds of questions. And understand that I know a ton about pain. I know what does the trick for me. It's morphine. If I'm in the hospital, it really eases off most things. And I've had much more breaks than the bad one I'd already talked about. And we get in, they're checking us in. And this is when I knew this was serious. They're running me through the questions, all the intake forms, all the intake information. And they look at me and they say, are you in an abusive relationship? Yes. And that was the second I looked at them and said, you have to stop asking me questions right now. My pain is at a level where I cannot respond to you and even coherently think. You need to ask my wife, and you need to get me on morphine right now. And then you need to work on figuring out what's wrong with me. This was the beginning of a really, really fun journey in the hospital. I will say, me breaking my back was a long recovery. Hospital part wasn't too bad. The hospital part was excruciating, and the recovery part was relatively easy compared to what they thought it was gonna be. So I get in the hospital, I get taken in, they get me on the drugs that I had requested. Things start being somewhat manageable. And they start running tests on me. They start trying to figure out what's going on with me. What is wrong with him? We can't figure this out. So they're running through this. Well, they haven't figured anything out. They're just hitting me with very similar story, right? They start hitting me with antibiotics and this and that. They just don't know what to do. And the next thing that happens is they say, hey, you've got weird levels in your liver and your kidney. We don't know what it is, but we know that. So whatever this is starts to make its journey up. And so it goes from liver and kidney to next, I can't breathe. They're saying, hey, your lungs are filling with fluid. This is an issue. We're gonna start giving you oxygen. And in the morning, we're gonna operate on you. We're gonna drain your lungs. Sounds like a good plan. Cool, let's do it. Unfortunately, I've got a lot of motocross racer friends. When I punctured my lung, I was extremely lucky. They didn't have to do any special stuff to it. Almost everybody I know that's had to have anything put into their lungs says how excruciating it is. And so I wasn't looking forward to this. And so that night, things start getting worse. I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna be able to give me enough oxygen to keep me alive. I literally think I'm gonna die. On top of that, they gave me some kind of medication, still don't know what it was. It made me hallucinate. I thought I heard chains getting dragged through the hospital like a scary movie. So I can't breathe and I'm in a horror film. It's an exciting time to be in the hospital with me. So we've got the plan. Tomorrow morning's the day. We're gonna do this deal to the lung. We're like 4 days into this, 5 days. I can't even remember. It's been a blur. It's been a pain. It's not fun. And we're getting ready to go out of the hospital, or we're getting ready to go to the operation, and a cardiologist runs it. Sir, you're not going anywhere. It looks like you had a heart attack. You gotta be kidding me. How much worse is this gonna get? So it's on to the tests on the heart. We've completely blew off the lungs. That's irrelevant. The heart's more important. Who knows about heart stuff? Anybody got heart problems in their family? Like, know anything about like ejection fraction? Which I didn't even know how that percentage scale worked. Now I understand that. I don't wish I understood that. So they said, can't pronounce the word, so I'm not gonna try to, but the virus that got into my heart basically caused me to have congestive heart failure. So now I've got 20% ejection fraction. I just know that's bad. I don't know much about that. And I just remember laying in this hospital thinking, I'm gonna die. And it's not even that. It's the actual doctor telling my dad, we have no idea. This could literally go either way. We're this close to flying him, airlifting him to St. Louis to have a machine operate his heart because he's barely alive. And I'm laying there, and I'm in a bad attitude when I don't crack jokes, all right? I don't crack jokes when I'm like, this situation, when I can't help myself, it was the same way when I was in a wheelchair after I broke my back. I like doing my own thing, taking care of myself. I don't like people taking care of me. My wife was trying to be nice and help. I was kind of like, I'm super mad that any of this is going on, and I still want to at least be able to have some semblance of a life while I'm here in the hospital. And while all this is going on, and I start hearing that I may or may not make it, I start just completely coming unwound. I'm bawling my eyes out. My wife is standing next to me, pregnant and showing, with our second kid. My first kid is awesome, and I want to spend more time with him, and I want to do stuff, but that's not happening right now. And I am literally stuck with, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. And it was about that time, and this is also like a powerful thing for business that has helped me. It was about that time where I realized I had no control of the situation. What was gonna be is what was gonna be. It was either gonna kill me or I was gonna make it. Maybe I was gonna be damaged. I don't know. They were telling me my heart was gonna probably be torn up permanently for this. You'll never be the same. And I just had this mental shift of, I'm gonna deal with it. Either way, I'm gonna take what I get. Sometimes that's how it is in business. Stuff's gonna happen that's out of your control. Like economy goes crazy or whatever people are coming on the road with. It's not in my control. I've got a business to run. This situation is not in my control. I've got a life that I'm gonna try to live. We're gonna see how that works out. And when I had that mindset shift, I remember, I didn't tell anybody. All of a sudden I started feeling a little bit better. It was weird. It was like, I went like this for days. And my mindset changed, and I flattened out, and I started to feel just a tinge better. And so the final piece of the heart, making sure I was fine, was a heart cath. I don't know if anybody knows anything about that or has had one of those. They're really cool to watch. I mean, being a part of that, it's not something I'd suggest you just go and do for fun, but it's cool to see all the arteries in your heart. And so at about 1 o'clock in the morning, they wheel me down to go do this operation. And I remember it was 2 young kids. They were having a fun time. I was on to the part of this where I was actually starting to act a little more like Jonathan in the situation. And I was having fun. And I'd already kind of realized, I think things are getting better. We get down there, and one of my fondest memories was we get into the operation and they say, what kind of music do you like? And I'm like, I don't know, just play something cool. And we are jamming to classic rock as they are sending stuff through my heart. And through all that, that's when things really started to turn around. They found out everything was fine with my heart, all my arteries was fine. This was all just because of the virus. Things look okay. Head back up to the room. Hey, celebration, things look okay. Still having people coming in telling me your heart's still probably gonna be weak for the rest of your life. You're probably never gonna be the same. Spent about another day in the hospital and I get sent home with a wearable defibrillator because my ejection fraction was still 35 or below, so I had to wear that for a week. And miraculously, 7 days later, everything was back to normal. They told me I was gonna probably have permanent damage, everything was going to be different, I need to watch all these certain things. And in 7 days' time, I came back in, my ejection fraction was back up to 50. Things seemed normal. They obviously wanted me to, not go too crazy. I'm extremely blessed that it didn't permanently change my life or kill me. But with this, both of these situations, both the one that happened when I was 14 and the one that happened when I was 28, helped define and shape my life. They gave me this vision of my life of, I've got one time to do this. I've got one opportunity with my wife, my kids, my friends. You hear people talking about the 5 people around you, or the sum of those people. That's right, that's you. And it makes it so much easier to do my due diligence on all of those things because I know I've got a finite amount of time. I've had 2 run-ins that were pretty close. I'm not here to waste any of this time. I'm gonna get every drop of this I can get. So this had motivated me to expand, to do more, to spend more time with my family. We had, shortly after that, opened a second location in the business, did more stuff with the family than we've ever done, really went all in on everything we were doing, and really just made sure that I took advantage of every opportunity I had in my life, because I don't know. None of this is guaranteed. I write in my journal fairly often in the morning that remember you're dying, because all of us are dying every day. We don't know. It's a morbid thing, but I might not make it home to my wife tonight. And you don't know when those things are gonna happen. And I try to keep a close tie because this situation has happened to me at least a couple times now. I'm crossing my fingers within the next several years when I hit that next 14-year mark, everything's good. We're gonna be really safe when that comes around. Truly what it gave me is the perspective of none of this stuff's not happening to me, it's happening for me. That's how all of our lives are. And that's a perspective. That's my perspective on my life. And in closing, that's the question I want to ask each and every one of you. Is your life happening to you, or is your life happening for you? Because if the answer is it's happening for you, it will massively propel your success with your family, your business, and everything else that's involved in your life. Thank you, everybody.